This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. October 10th is World Mental Health Day, and this year we are saying thank you to therapists. BetterHelp therapists have helped over 5 million people worldwide on their mental health journeys. That's millions of stories and millions of journeys. Behind each one of them is a therapist who showed up, listened, and helped someone take that next step forward. Moments in therapy, like asking the right questions, having a safe place to get emotional or cry, or small wins, they can change lives. This World Mental Health Day, BetterHelp is honoring those connections and the therapists who make them possible while showing how easy it is to get guidance from a licensed therapist online with BetterHelp. I've been doing therapy for over 2 years and I couldn't recommend it enough. It's helped me so much with relationships with my friends, families, even myself. It's helped me understand myself better, and it's just made for such a better life. It really has. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. And it works with an average rating of 4.9 out of 5 for live sessions based on over 1.7 million client reviews. This World Mental Health Day, we are collaborating with those therapists who have helped millions of people take a step forward. If you're ready to find the right therapist for you, BetterHelp can help you start that journey. Our listeners get 10% off of their first month at BetterHelp.com/PFF. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/PFF. All right, Dalton, we've seen some people in the chat talking about this one already. Dolphins, Panthers.
Fun one. This was a fun game.
Was it?
It sure was. Do you think it was? Or not, for any reason?
I don't know. A lot of weird football in this one.
Weird is fun.
A lot of bad football to start, then some worse football to end. But the Carolina Panthers end up winning this one 27-24, defending home turf in Charlotte. They're 2-0 in Charlotte, right?
Is it both home games? Are they 0-3 on the road? Is that what we're doing here? And 2-0 at home?
I'll have to check
that.
Top 5 graded players that we have for the Carolina Panthers. Edge rusher Nick Scorton with an 89.6. Great to see the rookie at the top of the list there. Defensive tackle Derek Brown, of course, great to see him there as well with an 88.0. Safety Trayvon Merrick with an 87.6. Linebacker Christian Roseboom with an 83.6. Season high grade for him there. Offensive guard Damian Lewis, a 76.4. And then Bryce Young in this one, a 68.2. On Miami's side of things, Darren Waller, he's back, folks. 88.3 in this one. Wide receiver Jalen Waddle, an 86.3. Safety Minka Fitzpatrick, a 78.1. Linebacker Jordan Brooks, 71.9. Center Aaron Brewer with a 71.8. Tua Tagovailoa in this game, 90.5. Wasn't his fault. Dalton, what was the stat that told the story here?
I think, like you mentioned it was kind of ugly there for Bryce Young and the Panthers early. If you logged into Twitter, probably somewhere between 1:45 and 2 Eastern yesterday, you would have thought Carolina was burning down. Dave Canales was gone. Bryce Young was gone. They were burning down the stadium, the whole thing. They were down 17-0, awfully quick.
Yeah, I mean, I was getting there. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I mean, you were getting there. A lot of people did get there. I mean, you look at the way the early parts of this game went. Bryce Young with a fumble on their first drive, with an interception on an overthrow on the next drive, looking ugly. The Panthers only had 32 yards because of that on their first 2 drives, compared to 150 for the Dolphins and 17 points. But the Panthers, they punched back. And you know what? Credit to them. Credit to Dave Canales and Bryce Young for just staying in the pocket and going, okay, take a breath. We screwed up the first 18, 20 minutes. Let's get back on track here. You're going to get into the run game. They kept running the football despite being down 17. That's good to see. Mm-hmm. And how many times, because last week we talked about the double-digit losses, right, for the Panthers, and how many, there's been way too many of them over the last year and a half. Could have been the same way here. They could have easily gone and just lost this game 35-0 and got out, right? 27 points the rest of the way. Obviously, that's the winning, 27-24, 6.9 yards per play after those first 2 drives. Bryce Young, you take out the overall grade for the game looks a little more average, a 68. Take out those first 2 drives, 79.1. That's solid stuff. Bryce Young made 5 big-time throws in this game. He was really good down the stretch, and obviously the run game got it going. And then the Dolphins, it works on the other side too. Up 17-0, went ice cold. They didn't run the football either. After their first 3 drives, only 98 yards and 46 of them on the late Jalen Waddle touchdown. They basically, the middle part of this game, the Dolphins didn't move the ball at all, and it just completely flipped, and the Panthers clawed all the way back, and then Waddle scored, and then the Panthers scored again. We got a wild ending, but this was a strange hot and cold football game. But the Panthers scored last, and props to them for coming back again down 17-0 because there's a lot of games over the last year and a half where they wouldn't even bothered.
Cardiac cats. Somebody in the chat is saying that Roseboom did not have the green dot for this game as the communicator with the defense coordinator, and that Trevor Wallace had it instead, and both seemed to play better with that. So perhaps that might have been something where
sometimes you just change the mojo and see what happens.
Roseboom, I just maybe felt more free to sort of just like take the play and go, okay, this is exactly what I need to do, instead of maybe focusing on the communication with the rest of the team. Maybe that is something there, but I did not know that. So shout out to the chat for pointing that out. You say that this was, a game where the in-between that the Dolphins really struggled. I think the Dolphins really struggled for the majority of this game. So they had an 11-play drive to start the game, ended in a field goal. A 14-play drive the next time out, ended in a touchdown. A 5-play drive that also ended in a touchdown. I believe that was off of the Bryce Young fumble.
I thought both touchdowns. No, maybe you're right. Maybe both touchdowns didn't.
No, that was
turnovers.
the first one was off of the fumble. The second one was off of the interception, which they got at midfield. So they scored a touchdown quickly there as well. But after that, this is how many plays the Dolphins' drives had: 3, 3, 5, 3, 4, 3, which happened to be that touchdown, and then 3, and then the game's over. You talk about hot and cold. It doesn't get any hotter and colder than that. And the reason why is because the Dolphins cannot run the football, or won't. I don't know which answer it is. Now, I think it's more of that they can't because of their offensive line, and I'll get to that in a second. But the Dolphins had 19 rushing yards in this game. The Carolina Panthers had 239. I'll get to Rico Dael in a second. Yeah. I know people in the chat are like, yo, where's Rico Dael's name? I'll get to Rico Dael in a second. 19 to 239. I would be shocked if there's any team that wins a football game like that. And if they do, I bet the record is 1 in 155, whatever it is. This is not independent of this game either. The Dolphins this season, 411 rushing yards. That is 29th in the NFL through 5 games. And yet they have allowed 871 rushing yards. That is the most in the NFL. So they have almost the worst rushing attack on offense and the worst rushing defense on defense. You're just not going to win many football games like that.
No, listen, this offensive line, I could see that even when you talk about the close loss that they had to New England. They're just completely handcuffed on offense. They can't block anybody, and Tua can't improvise. So there's a very small window of offensive options that they have, which is now without Tyreek Hill essentially Jalen Waddle one-on-one or Devon Achane somewhere hopefully in space. Well, that's their entire offense.
Well, we talked about this. I can't remember if it was for the review show that we did last Monday or it was the preview show that was on Wednesday. I looked up the EPA per play numbers, when they targeted Tyreek Hill versus when they targeted literally anyone else. And Tyreek Hill was over half a point. The EPA per play was like 0.68 something. And then when they targeted anyone else, it was almost 0. That's crazy. So the offense was always basically just Tyreek Hill and nothing else when it came to explosiveness and how to actually move the ball down the field. All respect to Jalen Waddle. I'm not saying that Jalen Waddle is a good player, or not a good player, but they just haven't been able to get him the football in that way. And then when it comes to running the ball, 36.7 run blocking grade as a team this week. That's never going to get it done. We have impact and defeated run blocking percentages, which basically means, for those that might be new to the PFF system, an impact run blocking play means that you earned a positive grade. A defeated run blocking play means that you earned a negative grade. Now, that could be anything from a negative 0.5, -1, -1.5, anything there, and then the same can be said on the opposite for positive plays. The Dolphins, as a team, had a 61.5 defeated run blocking percentage. That means that more than 50% of their run blocking snaps that they had for their offensive linemen had a negative grade to it. You are never going to win football games like that, because you are not going to be able to run and control the football the way that you need to. And until that gets better, it doesn't matter what Tua Tagovailoa does. It doesn't matter what plays Mike McDaniel calls. It doesn't matter what what Jalen Waddle is in Tyreek Hill's absence. It does not matter. Those numbers in the run game are bad. And they are so bad that we're talking about the Dolphins winning 3 games this season. I don't know how you win if you have statistics like that as a running team. So those were do you have any thoughts on the Dolphins further? Because I want to talk about Rico Dael, but just any thoughts there?
Nope, just that, look, they have the second lowest graded offensive line in the league ahead of Cincinnati, and if you take out an okay showing in week 1, they're actually pretty clearly the worst offensive line in the league. So that's just, especially with the quarterback you're dealing with, that's just what you're going to get on a weekly basis. Let's be real, their one win is against the Jets. That's basically, the Dolphins are better than the Jets, and I think that's an accurate thing to say all the way around.
So people will wonder, where was Rico Dowdle's name on that top 5 list? So to be fair, Rico Dowdle would have been 6th, I think. So he was just one missing from the top 5. He was right there. He had, I think it was a 75.9 rushing grade in this game. He had 23 carries, 206 rushing yards, a 9.0 yards per attempt average, and 1 touchdown in this one. The reason why Dowdle wasn't in that top 5 and maybe having a higher grade than you would expect for a guy who had 206 rushing yards is, 1, total volume, just the volume of carries that he had. 23 carries. He was tied for the most in the NFL this week with Quinshon Judkins. Whenever you have more carries that maybe you're not doing anything spectacular with, sometimes the spectacular ones go down a little bit. And after rewatching all 23 of Rico Dowdle's carries, a lot of those carries were really well-blocked run blocking plays. And I specifically want to shout out, my most impressive was the Panthers run blocking in this game. Taylor Moton, Christensen, Lewis, all of those guys had a run blocking grade above 71. They were a top 10 impact run blocking percentage team on the week this week. And when you watch those good Rico Dowdle runs, a lot of times the running lane is right in front of him. I mean, they are moving the Dolphins defensive linemen off the ball and creating that rushing lane very easy. So Dowdle still had a handful of runs where he was able to create yards after contact, which he got credit for. But it's not like there were a bunch of, he made like 3 guys miss on one play where he got like a +1 or a +1.5. There just weren't a plethora of those. It was, in my opinion, more of a hat tip to how well the Panthers' offensive line was doing in the run game, and Rico Dael being a benefactor of that. So still a really good rushing performance. Again, going back to what we talked about earlier in the show, a 75 is not average. Don't think of it like a school grade. A 60.0 is an average, replaceable level grade and performance on PFF's 1 through 100 scale. So a 75.9 is still a really good day rushing the football. But the reason why it's a little bit lower is just that higher carry volume, which probably just took away from maybe some of those more runs where he got those positive plays. And I will shout out that he did have the highest rushing grade for any player that had 15 or more carries. So Panthers fans, again, I know you might be freaking out sort of watching that, but I want you to know, we don't think that 75.9 is a bad score for Rico Dael at all whatsoever. That signifies a good day at the office for Rico.
And actually, I think they might have gone through one more sweep, because he's up to overall 78.7, which would be 5th on the team. Okay. I think they went through. I think he moved up. They looked at him one more time just to make sure, and I think he went from 6th on the team to 5th there. But also those first 4 guys on defense, the Panthers defense, they were put in bad spots early with the 2 turnovers, but they were outstanding in this game. So, no, Dowdle with just an absolutely awesome day, especially with Chuba Hubbard out. You go, okay, Rico's stepping, just like last year when he had to step into a starting role. Can he step up? He did last year. And in this game, he was fantastic. You talk about the Panthers, again, being able to claw their way back in down 17, and Dave Canales not having to abandon the run game. It is a big-time performance from him, absolutely.
Most impressive, most disappointing? Because I already said mine there.
I could pick a lot of guys. I mean, the most disappointing, just the Dolphins, their offensive line, and then any wide receiver not named Jalen Waddle. Malik Washington had 4 catches for 0 yards, which is actually, I think, more impressive than not catching anything, to be honest with you.
It's tough to do.
And no other receiver even got a target. So no Tyreek Hill. There's just nothing else. And then most impressive was this was I know the offensive line is what it is for Miami. This was game record type stuff from Derek Brown. This is the Derek Brown you wanted to see healthy back in there. That they absolutely need. This was the first time we've seen this run defense look like this in a long, long time, but also a 90 pass rush grade, just under a 19% pass rush win rate. Derek Brown was the surface, and this is always the case with him anyway, the surface level stats are going to tell you, he was okay, he had a sack, that's cool. he was outstanding, and he was just a monster inside for Carolina, as he should be.
Some other just quick Carolina points. Xavier Legette catching that ball in the end zone. Just a beautiful pass from Bryce at the back of the end zone there. That was great to see. Tetro McMillan is involved as he is in the offense. Obviously great to see. Bryce still up and down, right? Really tough first half and start to the game for him with the interception and then the fumble. And even the second half, like it wasn't perfect for him, but I still feel like Bryce is just being hesitant right now. He's just a little gun shy. I don't see that same sort of confidence that he played with when he was at Alabama. And even what I saw from him last year, he just seems a little gun shy still, I think, because of some of the mistakes that he's had already this season.
This might be a big one though for him, because you mentioned the
I
throw
hope so.
in the end zone to Legette. There was another throw later in the game to Legette that he caught. That was a big time play. There was a huge 4th and 5 on I believe the drive they took the lead on to Jimmy Horn on an out route. That was just,
they got him involved this week.
I don't know that Horn was active in any of the previous weeks. I'd have to check that, but I mean, I think it is a trusting. He clearly trusts McMillan, as he should. McMillan, he's been trusting the entire way. It's the rest of them. So can you get Legette to continue to step up? Can you get Jimmy Horn maybe to make a play or two each game? Mitchell Evans catching the winning touchdown, right? I mean, these are the types of guys. Tommy Tremble, right? Wasn't he the one that he had a pretty good game last week too? Can we get these guys to play more consistently around Young and McMillan? And then he's got trust, because that's what happened last year, is that he trusted Adam Thielen. It's crazy as it sounds. He trusted David Moore. I think that's just a part. That's what part of it goes into, is just, can he trust those guys to make those tight window catches, and then he'll start firing it in there.
They're starting to believe, Dalton. You're giving them reason to believe.
What's wrong with that?
No, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not
I don't get to have that.
It's not normally your gig.
No, because I don't get to have it.
I know.
We have the one defeated team in football. Feels bad.
Hey, draft season though.
Oh, it's already started.
Well, yeah, kind of. Tune into the NFL SC mock draft that we have later today, the live stream, where the Jets are picking number 1 overall because we updated the draft order.
Check out the mock draft on the college show.
I didn't watch it yet because I want to go into our mock draft, sort of with a clear mind, and then I'll watch it after because I want to see who you pick.
We don't offer much when it comes to a clear mind, me and Max. That's for sure.
Sure. Yeah. Max isn't still watching, so he's not going to take offense to that.